Hello YouTube world, I'm back and I'm starting off a little bit differently today. I want to show you how I choose my colours and desaturate my colours for an acrylic pour. Now, the majority of the pours that I show on YouTube are intentional pours, i.e. I have a picture on my mind of either using reference or it's a photograph I've taken. I'm pouring intentionally because I know what end result I want to achieve. I have videos, beginners videos on ring pours, straight pours, etc. Those are what I teach in workshops. But this is my art. This is what I enjoy doing. And a lot of people ask me, well, where do you get your inspiration from? And that's a really good question. Photographs that I've taken, photographs that my husband has taken, but also old paintings. I like to go and there's old galleries. There's an old museum gallery called the Russell-Cotes Museum in Bournemouth, and it's a beautiful old building. I don't know when, not sure when it dates back to. I should have done my research, shouldn't I? But recently I went to see a seascape exhibition. I love seascapes. I love fluid art seascapes, but I really want to explore this further. So I went along to this exhibition and I bought several postcards, and this is a good way of collecting reference. This is what I do. I just collect postcards of paintings that one day I think, oh, I love the colours in that one, I love the composition, they just really interest me. Actually, this is by Leslie Moffat Ward, 1888 to 1978. And this, so you can just see the Russell-Cotes Museum here. This is Bournemouth Pier. And it's still there today. And you can go and see these wonderful paintings and collections of all sorts of things. Anyway, I just love these paintings. I just love, it's simple, it's quite graphic, but the colours just work. And I'll show you, get to this one in a minute. This one's also beautiful as well. And even like the dress, you can tell it's set in the 1920s with the dresses. So simple, broken down to shapes, brilliant brushwork. Corfe Castle, not far from where we live. Chesil Beach, is that Chesil Beach? Chesil Beach. That one is a Cornish holiday. That's in Cornwall. So I like to be inspired by past artists. And the one that I just absolutely love, put those over there, is this one. There's something about this painting that just inspires me. This is called Spray, Oil on Canvas by W. Williamson, 1892 to 1978. And that's at the Russell-Cotes Art Gallery and Museum. And you can buy big prints of this. Maybe one day I will and get it framed. But I wanted to show you how I'm going to do a painting inspired by this painting. Now, you can't copy paintings. You just can't. So it's okay to be inspired by. Now, what do I mean by inspired by? I love the colours. I love the colours in this painting. I love them. It's muted, it's subdued, but there's energy in this painting as well. And the thing that makes this painting is the red in my opinion, is this red for a swimming costume. Now I'm thinking of a seascape with these colours, with the rocks in the foreground, and a kite with these colours to make it pop. So I'm taking elements of this painting and I'm using it. I'm using the colours. I think about the composition and I'm using it to create my own painting. So that's what being inspired by means. So how do I go about choosing colours? Well, simply, I've gone along my line of paints and I've thought, yeah, phthalo turquoise, that's on there. I've got the PVA 30 turquoise blue, that's kind of on the same spectrum. Going a little bit greener, and this is a DYNA one. That might be quite nice in there. And if you notice, and this is what it's all about, it's being really observant. I don't know if you can see, but this top half here is darker, more bluer. If you come down here, it's more greener. So the only green that I've got that I could possibly use is this. Obviously I've got lots of greens, but this is an emerald green. And I'm going to use that. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 turquoise blues to greens. Now, I'm going to break it down and show you how I will desaturate these colours. So I will try and match these hues. I've also got raw sienna. Again, it's not exact, but that's my job to get it as close as. And I've got Van Dyke brown. I've also got white. Now, I will start to make these colours up just as they are, and then I'll go into detail how I desaturate them. I've also got the quinacridone scarlet, which I think probably would be a good basis for her, for not her costume, but the kite. So we'll see. I'll put that to one side for the moment. Okay, I have mixed all my colours here with my pouring medium, which is 700 ml of PVA to 300 ml of water. That's mixed separately. I have mixed my paints in a ratio of 1 to 1. Sometimes I do a ratio of 2 to 1, so 2 parts pouring medium, 1 part paint, depending on what I'm doing. But in this instance, because I'm going to be playing around with my colours here, I really want the hue to be as its true kind of self. How can I explain myself? I don't want to weaken, I don't want to lighten the hues. Even though PVA will dry clear, as I'm mixing, I want to really know and be accurate about what colours I'm getting. So these are all different consistencies at the moment. I've not added any extra water to bring them up to the same consistency. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to desaturate them. Now, you really, if you haven't got a colour wheel, as a fluid artist, unless you really know all about colour theory, you need a colour wheel. So I have blue-greens here, blue-green. I know it doesn't look like blue-green, but for the sake of argument, blue-green. The opposite colour is reddy orange. Those colours put side by side will complement each other. They're called complementary colours because they're opposite on the colour wheel. They make each other pop. The minute you mix those two colours together, they start to get, they kill each other off. They neutralise each other. And that's when sometimes in fluid art and in normal painting actually, you will start to get muddy colours because you're overworking or you've mixed complementary colours together too much. and your paintings become dull. But that works in your favour if you want to desaturate your colours. Now, I'll just put that to one side a minute. I know that the opposite is ready orange. Now I have here Violet Oxide by Golden. I have Yellow Ochre, and I have just this cheapy sanguine. It's quite a nice orange actually. These are fluid paints. I've also got some teal. Golden are highly pigmented paints. I can't afford to use these as well. If I was mixing these up for fluid art, I'd be doing 5 to 1, 5 parts paint to 1 part pouring medium. No, the other way around. 1 part paint to 5 parts pouring medium. Goodness gracious, I have lots of complaints. So in one way they're expensive, in another way a little goes a long way. But I use these for desaturating. I've had these a couple of years now. I need to really reorder some more. So I'm going to start off with this opaque raw sienna. Now you can see that is so really a lot brighter, too dominant to use in this painting, because you can see here. Now on the colour wheel, you can say to yourself, well, where is that on the colour wheel? But I know that it's on this spectrum here. It's on the orangey red. It's there. So I know that if I add blue to this colour, then I'm going to start to desaturate it. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to start off, and I'm actually going to add a little bit of teal, and literally I will add a drop. Now, can you see? I was watching a cookery demonstration a little while ago, and the chef said it's really important that when you add an ingredient, you taste it before you add any more. I'm not going to taste the paint, but what I am going to do is add a little bit at a time. Now, it's really difficult to see on camera, the colours and the lighting, so you just have to take my word for it. And I will keep adding drops. And already I can see that that's becoming a lot more neutral. And really, it's potent stuff. So I know that's still that's a long way off being anything like I want it to be. So now I will add some white to that, and I have a cup of white made up exactly the same way as the paints. Now, you could take your paint, your heavy bodied paint, this, and mix it to the right hue before you put your pouring medium in. But I find it better to do it this way because you've got the quantity that you need. And if you only mix up a small amount and you add your pouring medium, you've got to go back to the beginning. So I have some white here, and I'm just going to simply put some white in there. Still a long way off. Add some more. I'm just going to add some more blue. Now at this stage, I might think, and this is why I likened it to a recipe, I might think to myself, I'm just going to go a little bit bolder and I'm going to put in some darker blue. This is like a sapphire blue. I quite like these because it just gives a real luminous feel. Luminous, is that a word? So I am beginning to get somewhere, but I'm going to add a little bit more. Now I am playing around with densities, and if you add white, you are obviously altering, if you've got a transparent paint, you are altering the opacity of your paint. So if you add titanium white to any transparent colour, you are altering its transparency. It becomes more opaque. Do you see how that's beginning to... And then you understand why I don't add any extra water till after I have got the colour that I want. I think that might be not too far off a mid-tone. Now, what I try and do is have a mid-tone, a lighter tone and a darker tone of the same colour. So I try and aim for a mid-tone when I'm first mixing. I will then take another cup. Let's just put a little bit more blue in there. I've got my mid-tone there. I'm going to cipher some of this off into 2 separate cups. Got some white there. I want one to be darker, and I want one to be even more desaturated and lighter. So this is where my bone black, it's carbon black, comes in. And this one's going to be the darker one. So I am just going to, one drop on the back of the spoon. I'm just going to add a little bit of the violet oxide just to make it a little bit richer, because there are some ready parts in there. In fact, I might make some of that up as a colour in its own right. A little bit more. It's made it a little bit more pinky, a little bit more warmer. A little bit more black. So before I finish that one, I'm just going to add some more white to this one. So can you see the difference in the two? This could possibly go even lighter. Just a tad. I think probably that is quite a good match for the lightest tone. And here's my mid-tone. Maybe a bit darker. Maybe I'll desaturate that even more actually. So I've just been like a chef thinking, oh, it needs a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper. That's pretty good. I like that. And then my mid-tone, I'm going to richen that up a little, warm that up a little bit too. So I have gone from this to this. Okay, it takes a bit of time, but I've got my mid-tone, I've got my dark tone, I've got my highlight. This is the phthalo turquoise, and this is a transparent paint. Now at the last minute, I added some Amsterdam turquoise blue because that's an opaque paint. When I showed the colours before, I was a bit worried that I had too many transparent paints, so I've added an opaque. What am I going to do with this? Now on the colour wheel, I know that the opposite colour to this is orange. So I don't have any, I used to have some golden orange, and obviously I used it all. So we're just going to start off with this sanguine and put a little bit of that in there. Pretty good. Still, there are some dark spots, but that would be too dominant. I'm going to add a little bit of white. Pretty good. Now that a little bit of orange in that has completely just transformed it, and that is absolutely spot on. Make sure you mix your paints really well. Now I'm not using these today, so I'm being a bit violent with them. I'm going to be painting tomorrow. That's a lovely colour. Do you see how I'm beginning to marry these colours together? Now I'm still using my red orange. In fact, no, let's go with this one. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? That is such a fabulous colour. Definitely want that in my painting. And the green. Now, way too saturated. All I've done with these colours is add some of this to each one. So this is way off. I'm looking at this colour down here. Got a little bit of work to do with this one. So let's add some white. Now if you'll notice, and this is really important, I do not take a squirt of normal heavier bodied paint and put that in there. I'm asking for trouble, I'm asking for lumps. I do with the more fluid paints, that's fine. But I run out of white, so what I'll do now is make up some more white with my pouring medium. So I'm going to keep that as dark, the dark hue, and I'm going to make a lighter hue. That's it. That's better. Okay, so just put that there and that there. My last colour is the Van Dyke Brown, and that is incredibly rich. probably too rich to go with these colours. I think it'd be too dominant. So, where is brown on the colour wheel? You ask yourself. It's still on this side. It's still on the orange, on the red scale. So I know that if I add any amounts of these colours here, I'm going to neutralise it. So let's go with the sapphire blue. Actually, let's go with the teal, just because that will lighten it slightly too. So what I want you to see, if I bring all my colours in, if you look at all these colours, how they're all working really well together. There's not one colour, I'm only going to be using a little bit of this, there's not one colour that really stands out as being, oh, that really doesn't match. So I hope you can see that. What I am going to do is just make up some of this, because I think this will bring quite a lot of richness. If you look closely, there is some rustiness. There is very similar to this colour, violet oxide. So to make up golden paints, what I do is I put the paint in first. No, I put the pouring medium in first. I'm not doing very well. I think I'll only put about, let's say, 30 grams. 30 grams. And I'm literally going to put in a couple of squirts. Now this will be quite fluid. Oh, that's really rich. That's way too magenta. Oh, I don't know though. Oh, what a dilemma. Okay, so this is a little bit too pinky for me, actually. And that's an opaque paint. So, what I sometimes do to marry colours together is I'm going to put a little bit of this in there. Certainly made it paler. A little bit of green. Whether I needed that or not, I don't know, but there you go. So there's all my colours made up for my pour. My next job to do is to make sure that all the same consistency. So if you want to see how a consistency test is done,